Christina here with Burnley and Trowbridge, and we're on a short break from our Sew Along series at the moment, but we have had a lot of requests to do a video on handkerchiefs, and more specifically, wearing our handkerchiefs as a hair ornament or a hair accessory. So we wanted to do this short video to give you some options as to how you can wear your historical handkerchiefs in a more modern, kind of vintage inspired way. And we are really excited for today's video because we have a special guest joining us. You might know her as the brain behind Not Your Mama's History, Cheyney McKnight. Welcome, Cheyney.
Thank you, Christina, for having me for this video. As you know, I'm very passionate about headscarves and head wraps, and so I'm really excited to share some head wraps with you all today. Today, I'm actually in Queens, New York at King Manor Museum. I thought that this would be a very beautiful background for our vintage theme today.
That is so cool. I am in my sewing room / studio today, so nothing super exciting in my background. But today's video is going to be talking about how to take your handkerchiefs and actually style them based on kind of that vintage inspiration into a modern hair accessory that you can wear, I don't know, like around the house or when you go out. Even if it's just to the grocery store, honestly, just kind of like feel a little bit better about, like what's going on with your head. Because I don't know about you guys, but I did wash my hair yesterday for you all, so it's somewhat clean right now. You don't want super clean hair, I find, for my hair, for head wrapping at least, or else things don't stay as well and my hair gets too slippery. But yeah, so, you can kind of pretty yourselves up a little bit. But I heard, and hopefully you can maybe give us a little bit of insider scoop on this, that you are going to have a video coming out really soon talking about head wraps in a historical context. Could you share a little bit about that with us?
Absolutely. So this tutorial is going to be about what women of African descent here in America were wearing on their heads, specifically head wraps, and how they were tying them and their significance and history and how they changed and evolved over the 18th century. And also learn about what we know, how we know it, and what we don't know, which is a lot. It's going to be really exciting, and it should come out probably about the second week of May, so stay tuned for that.
That's really, really exciting, I think, because we know that throughout history, kind of lots of different cultures have chosen to adorn or wrap their heads for a variety of reasons, sometimes just cultural, religious. There are so many different ways that we see this expressed throughout history, and some of that gets really, really specific into time and place and group of people that we're looking at as well, like you were saying. So I think it's really exciting to see more research being done into that area. And speaking of research, I know that today's video is really largely about wearing headscarves that are kind of modern interpretations of vintage fashion. I know this is kind of one of your specialty areas, so if you wouldn't mind maybe spending a little bit of time talking to us today, because I know I'm curious, maybe of some things to keep in mind as we choose to adorn our heads so that we're making sure that we're being kind of sensitive to all of those cultures and purposes for wearing, say, headscarves or head wraps.
I am so glad that we're going to be talking about this. This is probably one of the main questions I get. Is it appropriate for me to wear a head wrap? And so this is a very complicated conversation to be having. And I just want to let you know that it is going to be really hard for me to really put this in proper words in just 2 minutes, but I'll do my best. The first thing to understand is that there have been head wraps on every continent and almost every culture. The difference is the style and purpose of these head wraps throughout culture. Some are religious, some are cultural. So some cultures believe that your head should be covered when you go to meet your in-laws. You see that amongst a lot of West African cultures. In some time periods, it was believed that only women of high status were allowed to dress their hair with a head covering. And it really communicated to the world that this is a woman of means. African American women wearing head wraps at some points were made into law, like the Tignon laws in Louisiana, and then other times strongly encouraged as a racial identifier in other places. But what we know is that head wraps have always been a part of West African culture. It always was a part of African American culture, and it continues to be so to this day. We just have so many different reasons, and then with religion, usually in the text of that religion, you'll see some mandate that women should cover their heads while worshiping or when they get married. It all depends. Now, when we're looking at modern fashion, we're looking at two specific time periods, especially when we're looking at North America. We're looking at the 1790s to about the 1820s, where you see a Turkish Ottoman Empire inspired turban head covering. And those could be mounted onto a hat, or it could be tied, free tied. Then we start looking at the long history of African American women from the 17th century on up to modern time period. They have always worn head wraps in some form of fashion, and it's been something that is culturally done. And then you start seeing very mainstream headscarves come in during the vintage era that we're looking at. So the 1920s, 30s, 40s, up to the 60s. And so I find that you really have to be aware, am I wearing this head wrap because I'm going to a cultural event and I am honoring that culture at this specific event? Or am I using this as a fashion statement or to express my fashion? Is this why I'm doing this? And I think that from there, it's a personal decision whether or not you decide to wear a certain type of head wrap. I would say the head wraps we're creating today are for everyone. And these are very cool, vintage looking, and it fits into everyone's closet. And today we're going to be using Burnley and Trowbridge head wraps. So I'm really excited about that. I hope this helps you all.
Those are some really great points. So thank you so much for sharing those with us. And like you said, the styles that we're doing here today are pretty much for everybody. They don't really toe any kind of cultural or religious boundaries, so you can feel pretty safe with these. But as always, use your best judgment when you are deciding to adorn your heads with handkerchiefs. For today's video, we have, we started out with I think 8 or 9 styles, and it has evolved into a number of styles. I don't remember how many we actually have. I'll know that when I edit the video together, how many make them into the video. But we are going to do some base styles with some variations on that as well. And actually, I think we have a special, I know this is the video full of special surprises because we have Cheyney with us today, but we have another special surprise for you at the end of this video. If you stick around, I think you're really gonna like it. But Cheyney, do you want to go ahead and kick us off with, do you remember the one? I think we decided to call it the Hollywood Starlet. If you want to start us with that one, we will get this head wrap tutorial on the road.
So the first head wrap that I'm going to be doing is something that I'm really excited about. It's one of my favorites. And when I had longer hair and I did my hair, so I had it in pin curls or a really nicely coiffed style, this was the perfect headscarf. And this I still use to this day. So I take just a kerchief that is folded into a triangle, and I put it on top of my head and just simply tie it. And I like to push it back just a little bit. It adds that little glamour, and if I have a little bit of um, an updo up there, sometimes I pin my twist into a mound, but sometimes I like it like this. And one of the most important parts about this style are the glasses. Isn't it fabulous, y'all? Who's that girl?
All right, so along the lines of kind of simpler styles that are easy to throw on when you're in a hurry or when you haven't had a lot of time to maybe do your hair, I am preferential. I like to wear a top knot, kind of. You can kind of see what's going on there. And all I really do to do this because I just have a lot of hair, is I just kind of flip my head over, kind of gather it a little bit higher on the crown than you think you maybe need to. It might slip back a little bit, and then I just kind of pull it through and sort of like let it situate itself, you know, pretty high on my head. Hair placement is actually important for this because there are some wraps where you really want that hair kind of high up. Then there are other wraps where it just really won't work to do that. So keep that in mind. If you have short hair, you don't really have to worry about hair placement as much. So now that we've kind of talked about hair placement, I'm going to start with, like I said, a simple wrap. So I'm going to grab one of my scarves here. I don't have a problem at all. All right, so I'm going to start with my trusty indigo. And what I really like to do, and I don't know if you can see this or not, but so they're folded, typically they'll be folded in half to make a triangle, but then I wear a lot of open wraps so that my hair can kind of stick out. So to do that, I just kind of fold them over. I'm going to kind of show you here. Just to make essentially a long kind of, not really a tube, but just a long piece like this. So once you have your handkerchief kind of rolled up, if you will, a really, really easy thing to do is just kind of a very simple crossover wrap. And so you'll start by kind of lining it up in the back here. I like to kind of pull it by my ears just to catch those little baby hairs. Crisscross it over the top. Now at this point, I will actually start to twist it just a little bit because it helps keep some of my ends tucked in. And then I will just tie it at the back. And I don't tie it very tightly, honestly, because I get migraines if I tie things too tightly. So I will tie it very loosely, and then I will just tuck the ends in so that you don't see them. And there you go. You have kind of a nice little crisscross here. You get a little bit of texture differential from twisting versus kind of that flat roll that you had there. And it's just a really nice thing if you're like cleaning the house or if you have to run outside and you know, your hair is like a little messy, you have a lot of flyaways. If you're growing out like bangs, this can be really useful. So a lot of nice things for just a simple style like this. I'm going to use the same handkerchief since it's already rolled up. And I'm going to show you kind of a variation on this style. You're going to start the same way. You're going to start kind of at the nape of the neck, catching those baby hairs. But then instead of fully crisscrossing, you're going to actually do a little bit of a twist right there. So you're going to twist over. And then again, I still like to kind of twist my ends there. And then I'm going to tie just like I did before. So just a single kind of tie, and I'm just going to tuck the ends in. So you can see this gives you just kind of a cute little detail there, where instead of crisscrossing, you get just a little bit of kind of a loop or a knot right there, which can be kind of a fun, change up on that base style, if you will. So just a very simple way to go ahead and wear your handkerchief. And this is going to be another simple style, but it's going to have a little bit more of a kind of twist to it. So again, I'm going to keep this one pretty simple. I've got one of our really cute purple handkerchiefs here, and I am just going to do the same thing that I did in that very simple wrap, where I'm just going to kind of fold it down. Ooh, this one's really soft, you guys. This one's newer for me. I just got this one a little bit ago. And so it's not, you'll find that as you start to wear your handkerchiefs, you will kind of break them in, and you'll find that certain handkerchief styles you prefer to kind of certain patterns of hanky or certain feels of hanky too. Some of mine have just wrinkles because I only wear them in that one style. Some of them I have to kind of redo quite a bit. But this one we're actually going to start here at the top. So whereas before we started at the nape of the neck, we're going to start at the crown. And we're going to cross in the back. Catch any of those little baby hairs and tuck anything in. And you can kind of, if things are sticking out funny, you can give it a little bit of a twist, and that can kind of help sometimes. And then we're going to bring our tails up here. And again, just, make it, you got to work with it sometimes to make it do exactly what you want. There we go. I'm going to bring my tails up, and this is two ways that we can do it. We can do just a kind of single tie, and we can leave those tails out kind of cute like that. You could actually do a square knot here, like a double tie if you wanted to. One of the things that I like to do if you don't like big bows, if kind of huge bows aren't your style. Sorry, I'm looking in the mirror here. Is you can actually do, just tuck your end kind of back through. So you're not tying anything here, you're just tucking. That's a lot of head wraps. You can actually have a little baby bow. I don't know if you can see that. It's a baby bow. And it just gives a little bit of visual interest to kind of a very simple wrap. If you don't like the tails sort of flipping out everywhere, you can kind of get that nice little bow there that's a little more contained, but still a little bit, kind of fun. So, I mean, I'm partial to the little tail sticking out, though. I think it's kind of cute, don't you?
This is one of the go-to vintage head wraps. It's called the top bow, or it could be called the top knot. So you take a scarf. I'm using the red spotted. It's a classic Burnley and Trowbridge scarf or kerchief. So I fold it into a triangle, place it on my head, and then tie it on the front. I make sure that I am tucking it all the way around. And then up it goes. And then I tie a big bow on the front. You can leave the tails out or tuck them. And then I'm gonna fluff up the bow a little bit. So you can decide if you want your bow to be fully out or it to be halfway out. And there you are, the top bow. You can leave your ears in or out. I'll take them out because that's commonly done. People don't like their ears covered, but I don't mind.
Since we're getting into bow territory, bigger and bigger bows, right? Nothing can be better than that. If you really like big bows and you really like kind of pattern mixing or color mixing, this is something that I like to do where I actually use 2 handkerchiefs. So I'm going to pick a couple of coordinating handkerchiefs from my collection. I'm going to tell you guys, the kind of aubergine spotted is definitely one of my go-to handkerchiefs. It goes with almost everything. It's just really one of my favorites. I really, really like it. You can probably tell mine's a little faded because I wear it a lot. I probably should get another one, actually. I'm going to go ahead and pair this with the kind of red and black floral that you see here. So it's got that really nice pattern on the edge, and definitely any handkerchief that has a border can do some really cool things, particularly when you're doing things like bows. All right, so what I'm going to do with these is I have them both kind of rolled. You can see that here. And I'm going to just sort of loosely sort of twine them together. Doesn't need to be anything super crazy. And then I'm going to come around the back, kind of there we go, sort of keeping them, you can kind of see there, you can see there, just keeping them nice and kind of organized, but still a little, just a little fun. And now this next part is going to be what kind of gives you a really neat effect. There are a couple of different ways that you can do 2 handkerchief bows. This is one of my favorite ways to do it. You kind of want to flatten them out together a little bit like that on both sides. This is where I look like a weird spaghetti monster. That's okay. Just wait for the outcome, you guys. The reveal's where it's at. And I'm going to make my bow. I'm going to wrap around there. And don't worry about these right now. You can leave them if that's your thing. If you like that look, you can kind of pop them up or you can let them hang down. It's totally up to you. I'm going to tuck them in just a minute, but I'm going to show you first. We'll just kind of leave those there. I'm going to show you how to arrange your bows so that they sit a little more nicely. See how we kind of have this two-tone thing going on? What we want to do is kind of get in there and open up your bows a little bit. And you'll want to play with this to see kind of what looks the best. And I'm going to go ahead and try to pull, see what I mean, where you get those cute little edges on your bow sometimes. And I like to wear my bows a little bit off to one side, so you can either tie it a little bit off-centered or you can just shift it a little bit like I just did. And then now I still have these dangly bits that I need to deal with, and there are a couple of ways that you can deal with those. I like to just tuck them underneath, so I just kind of find whatever direction they're going. This one I'm going to just tuck behind because I think it gives an interesting play with that pattern. And then this one I'm going to go ahead and just tuck underneath, just like that. I'm going to show you another way to do a 2 handkerchief bow as well. That gives you a little bit of a different effect. Let's see, I don't know, what do we think about those? All right, so with this one, I'm going to got this one kind of rolled just like I normally would. This one though, I've actually, I don't know if you can tell, but I rolled it a little bit thicker than I usually would, because this is going to be my base layer. So what I'm actually going to do is a little bit different than our last bow. You can get inspired. So I'm going to go ahead and put this one here. I'm going to let it, you can see it kind of comes a little higher up in the back to hold a little bit more of that hair. And that's okay. And then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to give it a tie, just like that. And then just let your ends sort of flop down. You can just leave them like that. And then this guy, we are going to take and kind of go here. We're going to cross over, but we're not going to bow it. We're actually going to cross over and we're going to tie it in the back and just give it a tuck. So I know this looks a little bit weird right now, but in just a second, hopefully you will be digging it. I'm going to go ahead and take this one and kind of and you can leave your bows kind of folded, almost bow tie-like on themselves, where you get those little pieces in the front and back, just like that. You can also, though, you can tuck these under, and then you can fluff your bow, so you can actually kind of pull it out to make it fuller, more like a traditional bow. You can also, if you don't like tucking this down, you can tuck it back, or you can honestly kind of tuck it right underneath there. And your bow really, it won't come out. The fabric is really, really good at holding itself. So that is another way that you can wear a bow with 2 handkerchiefs instead of just one, and you can again get that two-toned effect. Now you could reverse this as well. You have a lot of flexibility when you're using 2 handkerchiefs, but it can just kind of elevate the look a little bit.
So the next vintage headscarf I have for you is something from the 1920s. I found that to do this headscarf, you needed something that was pretty long. So the red, blue, and brown floral from Burnley and Trowbridge is a really nice one. It can be used as a scarf, kerchief, or head wrap. And so what I did was I folded it in half and then folded that halfway down. And so I found the middle of this scarf, which is usually my middle fold. Flip it over, and you want to bring this to about mid forehead. And then I tried to tie it as close to the side as possible. You want to tie it pretty tight. And then once you tied it, then you can kind of play around with it. I usually do a quick tie and then maneuver it around. It's so simple. You'll notice that this style was actually quite boxy. So, which is very common when you look at 1920s headscarves. And I really like this for the beach. It's like a really nice look.
So the next few wraps that I do, the next few handkerchief styles, I'm actually gonna move my hair because I can't do them with a high top knot or a high bun like I have. We are going to cover kind of the Rosie the Riveter style because it's such a classic way to do a handkerchief. But to do that, you kind of need your hair at a little bit more of a mid-level. And not like super tight either. So you can see I kind of just let it rest pretty easily there. And it's not great up here. You're putting a handkerchief on. It doesn't need to be. Don't obsess over that. I'm going to use this handkerchief. Now, we don't have this one anymore. We do have it in blue, but not in red. But there is another one on the website. It is very similar to this with that red spotted with a border. And that one would work just as well for this as this one will. So I'm going to show you with this one because I don't have the other one. I'll probably get it eventually. For now, this one works pretty well for me. All right, so for this one, we're actually going to leave it open. I'm not going to roll anything up. I'm actually going to rest it at the base that you see there, and it's going to kind of pull my bun in, and that's what I want it to do. I want it to pull that bun in. So I'm going to rest it at the base. I'm going to kind of get that centered there. And I know this is going to look really weird for a minute because it's kind of messy. We can do a couple of things with these ends. We can tuck the ends in. We've got these like little loopy bits there. We could tuck the ends in there. You can find your loopy end over here. You can, and that kind of gives that iconic sort of squared off look. And then you can just take this little bit here and kind of fold it behind your little tie, just like that. And that gives you, see, that very classic, right, Rosie the Riveter kind of style. You get that sort of flat top there. If you don't really like this though, but you want a Rosie inspired look, you can actually take your ends and you don't have to necessarily tuck them. I would kind of just tuck those little bits there. You can go ahead and tie them in the back and just tuck them like we did for some of our other wraps as well. And then you can do the same thing with this bit here, where you just flip it back and tuck it right behind that roll. And this can be cute if you have like little bangs. It can be cute if you want to have like a little puff, or you want to do like a victory roll or anything like that. So there are lots of reasons why you might want to do. You can kind of wear it a little further back on your head. You can stick a couple of pins in just like that. But you can see that having the mass of the hair a little bit lower really helps create the shape for this, which you can't really do if your hair is up on the top. So that's, yeah, your kind of Rosie the Riveter style.
My last scarf is a variant of the top bow. So you're going to fold it again into a triangle. Then you're going to bring that triangle, the point of that triangle in, like so, but not so far in, to about here. Then you are going to, holding it like so, bring it to the back and tie up the top here. This one, I think it's very fun because you can kind of show off a do. So if you have an updo, if you are wearing a ponytail, or if you have a fro, or dreads, um, or twists like I have, you can push them up through the top, and it's really cute. And then you want to, depending on how much hair you have, you just change it up a bit. The back is covered, but then you see a little bit of peak of hair at the top. I really like this because it's a smaller bow, which is purposely done. But the focus is really on your hairstyle. I think that's really cute.
These next few handkerchiefs are going to be actually kicking it a little bit later than some of the other ones. Most of what we've been doing have been kind of vintage inspired, say 30s, 40s, a little bit of 20s. I'm actually going to do a little bit of a 60s, 70s one because I think it can be kind of cute and can be really simple at the same time. So I'm going to use a couple of different scarves to show you some variations on sort of this style as well. And again, like so many of the styles I wear, I'm going to fold it in half, and then I'm going to go ahead and roll it down. Into a nice little piece just like that. So we're going to start on the crown of the head, and then I don't know if you can see that. We're going to do a tie at the base, just like that. And I've done it off to the side. Now this is actually just one style that you can do, is to just wear it off to the side like this. But I'm going to take it one step further. So I'm actually going to put a bow in. If you haven't figured out, I'm a big fan of bows. But you don't want it to be too big. This is where you kind of have to play with it a little bit to see kind of what proportion is going to be right. How big do you want your bow to be? Do you want dangly bits for your bow to come down? What looks good to you? I'm going to go ahead and tuck a little bit under there. Then I'm going to fluff my bow a little bit as well. Then I have kind of this cute off to the side bow. You can kind of see it there. And I'm a big fan of both bows and also a fan of kind of asymmetrical looks as well. So you might find that you're not. You might really like things to kind of stay in the middle, and that's okay. You'll determine your preferences the more that you do this. So just kind of feel around with it and see what you like, honestly. So we are getting to our last few styles, and we're also getting to our surprise. So if you have been very observant, you've probably seen this handkerchief in the background. It's a limited edition special handkerchief that we have for this tutorial. So you can get these in kind of the time traveling section of the B&T website until they're gone. So when they're gone, and you won't be able to get them again. So I'm going to work with this one for my last kind of handkerchief of the night, and you'll get to see Cheyney's with hers as well in a different colorway. So there are two colorways to this. It's kind of cool. I'm going to go ahead and fold it in half, and then I'm just going to roll it down. I love the colors on this one. So once I have it ready, I'm going to apply, I'm going to start at the crown, catching my little baby hairs. And then I'm just going to tie, kind of a single tie at the back. And now again, you could leave it like this if you wanted to. It's really cute. You can wear your hair up, you could have it in a low bun, you could have it in a pony, and you can just kind of leave it as kind of a nice headband with the ends down. If you have long hair, so this is going to work for you short-haired folks, but if you have long hair, you can also, well, you could just wear it as a headband, which is certainly a possibility. It kind of keeps your hair nice and back. Or if you want to get really fun, you can kind of comb it out. I'm actually going to braid it in. So if you like to do pigtails, or you could even do this with a single braid down the back, if you're good at braiding, or if you have somebody who can kind of help you with your braiding, you can do something really cute like this. Pull it out, put your hair tie in, and then you can use this to cover up the hair tie by doing the same thing that we did on the other side, just putting it around, pulling it through. There you go. And you can have like a nice little pop of color in your pigtails. That's better. I have my B&T exclusive handkerchief on. Can I say pandemic hanky? In just a bow, and I've sort of tilted it off to the side, so that's one of the styles that you saw earlier today. But that's, I think, as many styles as we're going to fit in for this video. But if you have requests for more videos, please go ahead and leave them down in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for notifications when our Sew Along series returns with 3 new projects and any other videos that we put up in the meantime. And don't forget to head over to Not Your Mama's History and subscribe there for when that historical head wrapping video goes live in a week or two. We are so thankful for you for joining us. Don't forget, if you want to get one of the exclusive handkerchiefs, head over to the B&T website. And friends, feel free to adapt any of the styles that you saw in our video today to make them your own. Play around with your handkerchiefs, find your groove, find your style, find what you like, find what suits you, and don't be afraid to pull a little bit of your historical wardrobe into your modern wardrobe. So until next time, we hope that you are all staying safe and keeping well, and we will see you shortly when we return with our sew-alongs. Bye, everyone. Oh, did I just hit the microphone with my hair?